right. Well, I'm excited for part number 2 of our series, Finding Purpose. You can go ahead and turn on the house lights. Just to kind of recap where we were last week. Last week we said that we're going to begin this series on finding purpose because so many of you have had so many questions about how do you figure out what is your purpose. And as I promised before, there's a couple things that I can do for you and there's a couple things I can't do for you. One thing I can't do for you is I cannot help you decide what it is you're going to do the rest of your life. Like I can't help you decide if you're supposed to be a doctor or a missionary. I may be able to help you decide if you're supposed to be a pastor, okay? But like I can't help you decide that, but I can help you decide, man, who is it that you're supposed to become? Because as we talked about, purpose has more to do with who you are than what you do, right? Purpose has more to do with who you are than what you do. And what we discussed last week is that surrender is the first step to purpose. If you're not willing to surrender to God, you are not going to find purpose. But I think there's another really crucial part. We have to hit the second part of that, and that's this, is that who you surround yourself with are going to help determine who you are, right? Like who's your influence that's going to help you. And so I thought I'd start out with an opening illustration. For this, I need a couple of people. I need two volunteers. I need 2 volunteers. Okay, I saw 2 hands. Let me get Mark. Mark, come on up to the front, and then let me get Austin. Austin, come up to the front. I just want to let you guys know, last week, Mark prayed to receive Christ as his personal Savior. Isn't that awesome? And so I've told our leaders about this, but just because you're up here, I'm going to go ahead and brag on you a little bit. This might embarrass you. But,
no, I don't.
Okay, all right. So I got a text message from Austin's mom. This is like a couple weeks ago, and it kind of took me out of the blue because I've known Austin, and Austin's a great guy, but sometimes Austin does Austin-like things.
I never do things.
I didn't say that. I just said Austin-like. So I got a text message from his mom a couple weeks ago, and she let me know, hey, I don't know what in the world you guys are doing, but Austin is reading his Bible every morning before school starts. And so, man, I just think that's cool that we got 2 guys up here, guys doing stuff in their life. Here's what we're going to do. There's a passage of scripture, and sometimes I really do believe it's kind of taken a little bit out of context. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4, I was listening to this the other day. In Ecclesiastes, how many of you ever read the book of Ecclesiastes? It's a super encouraging is not the right word. It's a kind of depressing book. Like basically, the wisest man ever basically says life is absolutely meaningless and pointless unless God is a part of it. But there's this passage in Ecclesiastes chapter 4 where he begins talking about the benefit of having multiple people. And a lot of times people will use this because a love song got written after this exact verse where it says 2 is better than 1. And so everyone's like, oh, it's so romantic. Like, it's not what it's talking about. It's talking about friendship. But here's the verse. I want to read it for you real quick. Ecclesiastes 4:12 says this, and though a man might prevail against one who is alone, 2 will withstand him. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. And so I want to kind of, what's that mean? A man might be overtaken, 2 have a chance, and then a threefold cord is not easily broken. So I want you to imagine I got a cord. It's a piece of yarn. So I want you to grab onto this side, and I want you to grab on that side. And I want you to back up just a little bit. And here's what I want to ask you guys. Do you think these guys have a shot at pulling this thing and making it break? You think they have a shot at that? We're gonna see. I want you to kind of go that way. Don't lean back into it, okay? Because I really do think this is going to snap. But I want to see on the count of 3 if you guys can snap just this single cord all by itself. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, so, and everyone's like, I expected that. But here's the thing. If you do life alone, it's probably going to end up broken. Probably going to end up snapped. So I have a threefold cord, right? Because the idea is like, hey, if you end up with some friends in your life, you end up with some influences in your life, you end up with some people around you who involve themselves in your lives. Yeah, I didn't braid this. Where's she at? Katie braided this. So we're going to see how good Katie's braid job is. I want you guys to stand back. You're going to probably have to put a little bit more. I want you to stand right here so if you fall back, you don't necessarily hit the microphone. And maybe shift this way so you don't fall off the stairs. All right. That's what we're going to see. All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. See if we can break. Ooh, that's a lot tougher. A lot tougher. Oh, he quit. He quit. Pulled it out of his hands. All right. Give them a round of applause real quick. Now, do I have 2 people who think they can definitely break this? Okay, let me get John and Gabe. Come on up. John and Gabe, come on up. They're like, oh, bench press today. This cord doesn't have a shot. All right, here we go. Now, once again, please don't hurt yourselves. All right. All right, here we go. Ready? Now, do you guys think this is going to snap? I just want to know. You're saying no? Okay, threefold cord, not easily broken is what it said. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Wow. Not even a shot. Okay, all right, now. Stay up here real quick, though. Now, to make the illustration perfect, I should have another piece of rope. But here's the thing. Can we all agree this little puny little cord had no shot, right? And the reality is as good of a braid job as this is, as good as 3 of these are, it still really didn't have any shot. But once you add some real beef to it, right? And this has been woven together. This has like at least 10 different pieces into it, right? You think they even have a shot? We're gonna give them a chance. We're gonna give them a chance. We're gonna give them a chance. We're gonna let them try for 10 seconds, and then they're gonna be tired and they won't be able to walk home tonight. All right, here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Well, it's stretching. It's stretching. It's stretching. And time. Hey, give our bodybuilders a round of applause. So some of y'all are like, okay, Stephen, that was one of your dumbest illustrations. What in the world was that for? Here's the reality. I do think that the people you surround yourself will influence you. But I think it's far more important than you make sure that you have people to influence you, that you make sure you have people of character to influence you. Because people of character are going to be a little bit stronger friends. People of character, people who are going to be better friends, are going to actually really help you hold it together through the hardest times and through the good times. And so tonight what we're going to be talking about is the fact that your friends will definitely take you places, but will you like where they take you? And so what we're going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at the relationship, a friendship that David had with a guy named Jonathan. And we're going to be looking at a lot of different scripture passages. And so go ahead and grab a copy of God's Word. And we're going to end up going to 1 Samuel chapter 14. But I want you to see that there's 3 things that make a really good friend. 3 things that make a really great friend. 3 things that I hope all of you would look for when it comes to a friendship. And here's the first thing. A great friend has a similar mission. A great friend has a similar mission. They're going to be on a similar path to you. And so what we read is in 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 6. Maybe if you're there, I'll give you a second if you're not there yet. But 1 Samuel 14, 6, we get introduced to a character in the Bible named Jonathan. Jonathan is the son of the current king of Israel, Saul. And what we know about Jonathan is that Jonathan, obviously he's the son. He is, and the way it worked in those days, Jonathan knows that he is rightfully the next king of Israel, because that's what happens. Kingdoms just get passed down from the father to the son and on that way. So he knows he's going to be the next king. But what we see is that Jonathan has a certain character that his father lacks. And Israel's engaged in this battle with the Philistines. And so Jonathan, on his own, with his armor bearer, says, hey, we're going to go take on those Philistines. We're going to go take on those couple hundred Philistines, just me and you. And let me ask, is it ever a good idea to pick a fight when there's only 2 of you and hundreds of them? Here's the caveat. Here's when it's a good idea. 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 6, here's what we learn. Jonathan said to the young man who carried his armor, come, let us go over to the garrison of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing can hinder the Lord from saving by many or by few. What does he say? He says, we're going to go over there, and who's going to do the work for them? The Lord will work for them. And actually, we don't have time, but if you keep reading, that's actually what they do. They basically go up, they pick a fight, they start saying some things. Then it's really epic. Jonathan and his armor bearer run up, and with a couple of swipes of their sword, kill 20 dudes. And then all of a sudden, the Philistines are in a panic, and the Philistines start fighting each other, to the point that by the time Saul and his armies learn about the battle and they show up, the Philistines have killed one another. And so what we see is that Jonathan, in boldness and in courage, knowing God was going to work for him, goes after the enemy. Well, as we read last week, if you flip over to 1 Samuel 17, David, when he was getting ready to fight Goliath, in verse 47, what did he say? We read this last week. It says, verse 47, and all the assembly may know, David talking to Goliath, that the Lord saves, not with a sword or spear, for the battle is the Lord's. You see, both David and Jonathan had this in common. They had a similar mission. They both wanted to annihilate the Philistines. But bigger than that, they had a similar belief that God could work on their behalf. They had a similar mission that existed outside of themselves. And as I've been thinking about this a little bit, here's what I've come to understand a little bit. Making friends is tough. Can we just agree with that? Like, making friends is hard. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes time, it takes energy. That's why I don't have any, right? Like for some of you, and I'm being real. God's given you this spiritual gift. You just connect with people. Like I can call some people out, like Miss Jen. Miss Jen is awesome. God's given her a gift. Like you can talk to Miss Jen, and within 3 seconds, you're like, oh my gosh, she's my best friend, right? Like she has a gift to just connect with people. Some of us, though, we don't have that gift. We're like, oh, people. Oh. You know? Being friends with people takes work. But here's the number one thing that makes a friendship. There has to be something outside of those people, some kind of similar mission, some kind of similar passion, desire, goal. It's going to cause them to be strong friends. I can't become friends with you just because I want to be your friend. And you can't become friends with me just because you want to be my friend. Friendship doesn't work that way. We have to have something in common. In fact, a super smart guy named C.S. Lewis once said that friendship begins when a person says to another, what, you too? I thought I was the only one. It's when we find out, man, we have this thing in common, this thing that exists outside of us. Friendship has to begin with a similar mission. I want to spend just 2 more seconds on this. The strongest friendship that you can have is when it comes down to a similar faith. And here's why I think that is. I don't have everything in common with all of you guys. In fact, there's some of you that as we begin talking, we might have absolutely nothing in common. But if we believe in the same God, that's something that can't ever change. And if I love God and you love God, I can relate to you on that basis. Versus if I love baseball and you love baseball, what happens when one of us stops loving baseball? The friendship's gone. If I love this particular music band and you love that music band and then that band dissolves, the friendship's gone. But if our friendship is based off of something that can't end, that there's a God in heaven who loves you and me, and I've given my life to him, and you've given your life to him, and I'm chasing after him as much as I can, and you're chasing after him as much as you can, that friendship will last. Because I begin seeing in you the kind of thing that draws me to want to keep going. I told you guys I'm a YouTube junkie. Recently I was watching this YouTube documentary on this CrossFitter named Rich Froning. He's still competing. He won CrossFit Games like 4 times in a row, world's fittest guy. And here's the thing about all the guys that know Rich. This is what they say. They say, man, he works so hard. It just inspires me to want to work hard too. And I began thinking, well, okay, I work out with Brian, but I work hard, he works hard. I'm not sure we got Rich Froning level. But here's something I do know. Every single Wednesday and every single Sunday I show up, and we've got leaders. And I love you guys, but our leaders are the reason I keep coming back. Because I look around, I look at people, and I go, man, I'm seeing people that left spouses at home to come hang out with teenagers. I'm looking around the room at people who, man, they could really be doing some fun things right now. But they think, man, pursuing God and discipling people is more important than that other stuff I can do. And when I see that, that challenges me, that encourages me. And I'm like, man, all right, if Miss Crystalline can work all day, teach whiny kids at Hillsborough High School, drive all the way down here and fight traffic, and then smile, I can at least try to smile, you know? So you need to find people that got a similar mission, and the best mission is someone who loves God. Because if someone loves God and you love God, you both have surrendered, man, that's going to be sweet. And what we're going to see is how sweet that friendship really is. In fact, Proverbs 13:20 says, whoever walks with the wise becomes wise. The companion of fools will suffer harm. Who are your friends? Do they have a similar mission? And the second thing that friendships have is that good friends have a sacrificial love. Good friends have a sacrificial love. 1 Samuel chapter 18, here's what we're going to read about David and Jonathan. Turn there with me. We're going to read 4 verses. 1 Samuel 18, verse 1. As soon as he'd finished speaking to Saul, the soul of David was knit to the soul of, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David. and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. Now, can we all just agree that sounds weird? What in the world are they talking about? In fact, some people have tried to take this and go, oh, did they have like a homosexual relationship? No. Stop trying to make it weird for those people that might even begin thinking that. No. It's saying, look, they saw in one another such a deep passion for God. They're like, man, I love that person. Do you have people in your life that are like that? Like, can we just agree? We have friends and we have best friends and we have people that we connect with, and we can't really explain why we connect with them. We just connect with them better. Yeah? Like, we have people like that. And that's what David and Jonathan are like. Their souls were knit together. There's just something about it. And look at what it causes Jonathan to do. Verse 2, and Saul took him that day and would not let him return to his father's house. And Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped off of his robe that was on him and gave it to David, and his armor, and even his sword and his bow and his belt. Jonathan can't help but sacrifice for David and give to David what belongs to him. Good friends are willing to sacrifice for someone else. A good friend is willing to go, you know what? I love this person so much, I don't even care if I get my stuff back. I just want to share. I just want to give. I'm willing to sacrifice to give. And I'm not willing just to sacrifice physically like this. You could read later down in chapter 19 where Jonathan sacrifices emotionally. Can we agree that sometimes friendships kind of drain on our emotions? But a good friend is willing to give emotionally. They're willing to be available and to empathize with you. And a good friend's also willing to sacrifice spiritually. Say, you know what? It's more important that I support you than I take what I want. Good friends willing to sacrifice. Sometimes brothers can be really good friends, and sometimes brothers can kind of forget that they need to sacrifice. I had a reminder of that last night. I had one of these moments where I thought, man, this is going to be one of those super cool discipleship moments I'm having with my son, Trip. I walked into the room. By the way, our kids go to bed around 7:30, and so we'd put them down. I'd read them several books, pray with them, kiss them, left them in their room, and I hear them screaming and fighting back and forth. And I walk in the room, and I'm like, guys, what's up? And Gabriel's going, mine, mine, mine. And Trip's like, no, it's mine. No, it's mine. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Are you talking about an airplane? What are you talking about? They're talking about pillows. Basically, the pillow that was on this side really does belong to Trip, and Gabriel wanted it. And so Gabriel's trying to take it. And Trip didn't want him to take it. So he was fighting with him and making sure that he couldn't take that pillow. And I was confused. I thought they just wanted to sleep in different spots. So I, being the wise father, just switched the pillows and thought, all right, problem fixed. You guys can sleep where you want. You get the pillows you want. No. They wanted that specific pillow. They wanted that pillow, and they were willing to fight for it. And I'm like, all right, well Gabriel, it's Trip's pillow. Mine! I'm like, well, you need to go to bed. All right, Trip, he's your younger brother. You need to give it to him. Mine! And then I thought, okay, all right, here it goes. I'm gonna drop some biblical knowledge on Trip. I'm going to introduce him to Jesus. We're going to have a come to Jesus moment right here. And I dive straight into the story of the gospel and how Jesus came down from heaven and sacrificed heaven to come be with us. And then he gave his life. I was like, okay, how do I explain death when Trip is, he's not going to really get, okay. So Jesus gave his life for you and me so you and I could one day live in heaven. And Trip's like, Jesus gave his life? Like, yeah, for you and me. And what he asked now is he asked that you and I would sacrifice for someone else. And Trip goes, so Jesus wants me to sacrifice? I said, yes. And I thought, man, stamp Father of the Year. I'm going to walk out. It's going to be awesome. And I'm like, okay, he's got it. He's got it. He's figured it out. Friends, sacrifice. And I lean down to kiss him, and he goes, but I want my pillow. Like, well, all right. We'll try again tomorrow, I guess. So maybe at the age of 3, he doesn't quite get this idea. But real friends sacrifice. Real friends are willing to give what is rightfully theirs to someone else. And you know what's even more impressive for those of you who like really studying the Bible and really diving into, what's the significance of Jonathan really, is he just lending him some stuff that he's going to get back? Jonathan knows that David has been anointed to be the next king. And normally a robe is a sign of royalty. And so there's partly a significance when Jonathan is handing his robe to David. He's saying, look, I understand you are actually supposed to be the next king. My dad thinks it's going to be me, but actually it's you. You deserve this. You know, I could spend a lot of time preaching on that because you know what? Jesus really rightfully deserves to be number one. Shouldn't we be willing to take off our robe and give it back to who it really belongs to? And then Jesus told us in Matthew 7, part of the reason we're doing this thing called Feed the Bay is that, hey, in the same way that you served, in the same way that you sacrificed for the least of these, you've done it to me. So when you bring in food for the hungry, you're bringing in food for Jesus. A real friend sacrifices. It's sacrificial love. And finally, a real friend has a secure loyalty. A real friend has a secure loyalty. I'm just going to read just out of 1 Samuel chapter 19, verses 1 through 7. Let's read this. The situation has kind of gone on. Saul at this point is beginning to get mad at David because David is getting praise and David's getting hoopla and people are praising David and not praising Saul. And so Jonathan stands up for his friend. It says in 1 Samuel 19, and Saul spoke to Jonathan, his son, and to all his servants, and that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. And Jonathan told David, Saul, my father, seeks to kill you. Therefore, be on your guard in the morning. Stay in a secret place and hide yourself, and I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are. And I will speak to my father about you. And if I learn anything, I will tell you. And Jonathan, check this out, spoke well of David to Saul his father and said to him, let not the king sin against his servant David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his deeds have brought good to you. For he took his life in his hand, and he has struck down the Philistine. And the Lord worked a great salvation for all of Israel, and you saw it and rejoiced. Why then would you still sin against innocent blood by killing David without cause? And Saul listened to the voice of Jonathan, and Saul swore, as the Lord lives, he shall not be put to death. And so we see here Jonathan going to bat for his friend. He's willing to speak well of him. And actually, in the very next chapter, in 1 Samuel 20, Saul changes his mind again. He's ready to kill David, and Jonathan goes back to bat for David. And he's like, you shouldn't kill David. He hasn't done anything wrong to you. You know, I see that Jonathan was willing to be loyal to his friend, even though it meant he had to turn his back on his dad. Now, don't hear this. Don't hear you need to disrespect your parents in order to hang on to your friendships. Because some of your friendships maybe are like this, and this is what your parents are trying to protect you from. But a really good friend, a really good friendship is one that's going to involve loyalty. One that I'm not going to break it. I'm not going to stop it. I'm not going to go somewhere else. Because I'm so connected. I'm so involved that I'm not going to even speak bad about you when your back is turned. Let me tell you, one of the worst things, and it's popped up this past week, one of the worst things, when you go on social media and you think, man, because there's no longer this, I don't have to see the person, I can say whatever I want, there's no repercussions. It's one of the worst things that can kill friendships. A good friend is loyal, and they're going to speak up for you and stand up for you. And so what we see is that Jonathan is definitely this kind of friend for David. He's got a similar mission. He's got a sacrificial love for David. He's willing to give, and he's loyal to David. He's not going to walk away. He's not going to turn away. Some people were asking, like, okay, so how long were they friends? Well, Jonathan met David when they were about 17, and we know that they were friends up until Jonathan's death. And Jonathan died when David was about 30 years old. So they had a friendship that lasted over 13 years, and a lot of that was long distance, without email or text message. And shoot, even carrier pigeon. David was off running around, hiding in the woods, trying not to get killed. The friendship lasted. So when you hear this, I know all of us, hopefully this is what we're going, man, do my friends line up like this? Do my friends have a similar mission? Do my friends have a sacrificial love for me? Are my friends loyal? Maybe for some of you, you're like, I'm not really sure if my friends line up for that like that. Maybe some of you are like, you know what? When I come to church, I'm not even sure I see people like that. And here's what I want you to know. That when you begin showing me your friends, I'm going to show you what your future's going to be. When you want to know what your purpose is, when you want to know where you're headed, man, all you got to do is show me who your friends are. And I can tell you. I can tell you by the character of your friends today if you're going to end up being like this or if you're going to end up being like this. But for those of you who feel like, man, I'm not sure if I got friends that will really stand up for me. Here's what I want to encourage you with. And as the band comes up, here's my last thought. Jesus showed us that if you want to have friends, you got to be a friend. If you really want to find good friendships, if you really want to find good friends, you got to be the first friend. And I think this is up here. Remember this. Good friends are friendly first. Let me say that again. Good friends are friendly first. Good friends don't wait for you to come to them. Good friends go to you. And if that's true, let me ask you this. Are you a good friend? Are you the kind of friend who's willing to be friendly first? Are you the kind of friend that even when you're not really sure if they're being loyal, you're going to extend loyalty? Are you the kind of person that, man, even when I'm not sure if they give me their left shoe, I'm going to be sacrificial towards them. I'm going to give them what they need. But I'm going to go ahead and ask. Go ahead and turn out the lights. I want to ask you guys one last question. I asked you where you're at, but I want you to also consider where Jesus is at. Because Jesus did not wait for you and I to get good before he came down to earth. He didn't wait for you and I to stop sinning before he sacrificed his life on a cross. You know what's crazy about that is even though he rose again, he doesn't quit on you every single time you mess up against him. Jesus is a good friend. He's got a great mission, and hopefully your mission is similar to his, to seek and save the lost, to be all about seeing God get glory. He's shown us a sacrificial love. The Bible says, greater love is no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. He's shown us what sacrificial love is. And shoot, Jesus is loyal. He will never leave us or forsake us. Can that be said of you? Are you a good friend? And let me encourage you tonight, when you turn to Jesus, when you begin leaning on Jesus, you begin seeing these things begin popping up in your life. When you lean on Jesus, you realize as I pursue him, I begin finding other people who are pursuing him. I don't have to worry about, am I going to have the right kind of friend because I'm so focused on what Jesus is doing. It's just going to be natural to see who else is pursuing that. When I lean on Jesus, I realize, man, I can sacrifice for other people because he sacrificed everything for me. Man, it's not costing me anything more than it cost Jesus. And I'm fine with that. And then finally, as I lean on Jesus, I can be loyal to other people knowing, man, he's never going to leave me or forsake me. And that's where I'm secure. I'm secure in the fact that God's not going to leave me. I can lean into Jesus because even when someone lets me down, he's not going to let me down. I can lean into Jesus knowing that if I extend myself, if I put myself out there, he's got my back. People might let me down. People might mess up. But Jesus has my back. Man, I wish I could tell you as a pastor that I would never let you down. And I'm not going to ask you because it'd be too embarrassing. But if I asked you to raise your hand, if I've ever let you down, almost every single person in this room would raise their hands. I'm going to let you down. Your neighbor, they're going to let you down. Your leaders, man, they're awesome, but they're people. They're going to let you down. Your parents, they're going to let you down. Your friends, they might let you down. Jesus will never let you down. So tonight, if you haven't, lean into Jesus and let him make you a great friend. Please bow your heads.